The breaking point. Dr. Elena Rossi stood at the observation window of Europa Research Station, watching Jupiter's massive form dominate the horizon. The gas giant's swirling storm seemed to mirror the turmoil in her mind as she reviewed the evidence on her tablet for the 100th time. The data was irrefutable. Someone had been sabotaging their quantum consciousness research for months. Director Matthews is ready for you, her AI assistant Aria announced, its holographic form shimmering beside her. Elena took a deep breath, straightening her lab coat. Show me the temporal comparison again, Aria. A series of graphs materialized in the air. The degradation of our quantum field matrices shows clear signs of external interference. The signature matches known Archon technology with 99.9% certainty. The Archons, the self-appointed guardians of galactic civilization. Of course it would be them. Their representatives had been particularly interested in touring their facility last month, asking seemingly innocent questions about their research into machine consciousness. The meeting room was already full when Elena entered. Director Matthews sat at the head of the table, his weathered face grave. Around him sat the station's department heads and security chief. On the main screen, Admiral Helena Torres of the Earth Defense Fleet watched silently. Dr. Rossi, Matthews gestured for her to begin. Please share what you've discovered. For the next 20 minutes, Elena laid out her findings. The subtle sabotage of their quantum fields. The corrupted data. The carefully hidden traces of Archon energy signatures. When she finished, the room was deathly quiet. This confirms similar reports from our Mars and Titan facilities, Admiral Torres said finally. The Archons aren't just monitoring us anymore, they're actively working to prevent our advancement. Security Chief Patel leaned forward. Why now? We've been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years. Because we're getting too close, Elena said quietly. Our research into quantum consciousness isn't just matching their level of technology, it's surpassing it. They can't control what they can't understand. Admiral Torres's image was replaced by a larger conference room on Earth. The full Earth Defense Council was assembled, along with representatives from every major human colony. President Chen of the United Earth Government sat at the center. Dr. Rossi's discovery is the final piece of evidence we needed, Torres continued. The Archons and their allies on the Council have been systematically sabotaging human development across multiple sectors. The attack on our Europa facility is just the latest example. We've suspected this for years, President Chen said, her voice tight with controlled anger. But now we have proof. The question is, what do we do about it? The next few hours were intense as strategies were debated and options weighed. Elena found herself drawn into technical discussions about protecting their research, while military and political leaders argued about larger responses. It was Ambassador David Okonjo, their representative to the Galactic Council, who finally voiced what many were thinking. Perhaps it's time we stopped playing by their rules entirely. A hush fell over both rooms as he continued. For 50 years, we've tried to be good members of their galactic community. We've followed their regulations, submitted to their inspections, accepted their guidance. And what has it gotten us? They fear our potential so much they're willing to sabotage us rather than let us grow. He stood, his tall frame commanding attention. I propose something unprecedented. Not a war, that's what they'd expect. Instead, I propose we simply leave. Leave the Galactic Council. President Chen's eyebrows rose. That's never been done in its 100,000-year history. Exactly, Okonjo smiled. They won't know how to handle it. We withdraw completely, our ships, our trade, our technology. Let them see how well their perfect order functions without human innovation and industry. Elena found herself nodding along with others. Humanity had integrated itself deeply into galactic society over the past 5 decades. Their ships carried a third of all interstellar trade. Their AIs managed countless systems. Their colonies were vital economic hubs. It would hurt us too, someone pointed out. We rely on galactic trade networks. Less than they think, Admiral Torres countered. We've been preparing contingencies for years. Our colonies can be self-sufficient within months. Our quantum communications network can operate independently of Council systems. And our new ships. She smiled grimly, let's just say we've kept our best innovations to ourselves. The debate continued, but Elena could sense which way the wind was blowing. When the final vote came, it was nearly unanimous. Humanity would withdraw from the Galactic Council and all its associated institutions. The Archons believe they can control our development by sabotaging a few facilities, President Chen said as she signed the declaration. Let's show them what happens when they push humanity too far. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. As Elena and her team worked to secure their research data, reports came in from across human space. Colony ships were quietly changing course. Trade vessels were returning to human ports. Military assets were moving into defensive positions. Standing again at her observation window, Elena watched a fleet of Earth ships emerge from FTL travel, taking up protective positions around Europa. Jupiter's storm seemed calmer now, or perhaps it was just her mood. For the first time in months, she felt truly free to pursue her research without constraints. The Archons will try to stop us, Arya observed, analyzing the latest security feeds. Elena smiled. Let them try. They've spent so long controlling and restricting other species, they've forgotten what real innovation looks like. It's time they remembered why humanity reached the stars in the first place, not because someone guided us, but because we dared to guide ourselves. As if in response, her quantum consciousness matrix pulsed with new energy, free from interference. In its shifting patterns, she could see the future taking shape, a future where humanity would forge its own path among the stars, unrestricted by the fears and controls of ancient races. The breaking point had been reached. But what the Archons would soon learn was that sometimes, breaking from the old order was exactly what was needed to build something new. Silent Exodus. The Helios trading station hung like a gleaming diamond at the intersection of three major trade routes. For decades, it had been the crown jewel of human space commerce, processing thousands of ships daily. Now, Operations Director Maya Patel watched as the last alien vessel departed, leaving 2/3 of the docking bays empty. Final manifest confirmed, her AI assistant reported. All non-human ships have cleared the station. Remaining vessels are implementing Protocol Exodus. Maya nodded, watching the carefully choreographed dance of human ships preparing to depart. The station's withdrawal had been planned with precision that would have impressed even the Archons, if they'd known about it. Station AI, she commanded, initiate security lockdown Omega. Purge all external network connections. The station's lights flickered briefly as decades of integrated systems were systematically disconnected from the galactic network. Similar scenes were playing out across human space, a withdrawal so massive in scope that no one had believed it possible. On the Archon homeworld of Celestis, High Observer Vaxtail was beginning to realize just how wrong they had been. What do you mean, gone? He demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. The junior observer's report crystallized in the air between them. The humans are conducting a synchronized withdrawal from all Council space. Their ships, their personnel, their technology, everything is being recalled to human territories. Impossible. The logistics alone dash. They've been planning this, High Observer. The shipping manifests we're receiving show careful preparation dating back months, perhaps years. Vaxtail moved to the observation dome, watching the usually busy space lanes above Celestis. Already, gaps were appearing in the normal flow of traffic. Human ships had accounted for far more of their transportation infrastructure than anyone had cared to admit. The Council must be informed, he decided. Summon the emergency dash. Sir, the junior observer interrupted, something they never did. The Council chamber, it's empty. Empty. The human delegation departed an hour ago. They left this. A hologram appeared, Ambassador Okonjo's serene face looking directly at the camera. By the time you see this, humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council will be well underway. We joined your community hoping to find partners in progress. Instead, we found wardens determined to keep us safely contained. That ends today. In the Outer Rim territories, Captain Li Chen of the merchant vessel Star Wanderer received the coded signal she'd been waiting for. Like thousands of other human captains, she had been positioned strategically throughout Council space. All hands, she announced, initiate protocol exodus. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, disconnecting from the alien station systems. Around them, other human ships were doing the same. The station's alien traffic controllers were beginning to panic as vital systems they hadn't even known were managed by human AIs went dark. Captain, her first officer reported, the station administrator is demanding we remain. They're threatening to lock down our docking clamps. Lee smiled. Tell them to check their systems again. They'll find they no longer have that capability. The human withdrawal had been designed to do more than just remove their presence. It was methodically exposing just how dependent the Council worlds had become on human innovation. Back on Europa, Dr. Elena Rossi was reviewing the latest quantum consciousness readings when Admiral Torres contacted her. The Archons have finally realized what's happening, Torres reported. They're trying to seize human assets in their core systems. Trying. Turns out it's difficult to seize something when all your control systems were quietly replaced with human technology years ago. Their own security networks are rejecting their commands. Elena allowed herself a small smile. How long until they attempt a military response? They won't, a new voice joined the conversation, Ambassador Okonjo. They can't. We've just released proof of their sabotage attempts to every species in Council space. The younger races are unhappy. The feeds were already showing the reaction. On a dozen worlds, representatives of younger species were demanding explanations from their Archon advisors. Centuries of carefully maintained authority were crumbling in hours. In the Meridian sector, another scene was playing out. The Nexus-class research vessel Prometheus decoupled from a Council science station, taking with it humanity's contribution to a dozen joint research projects. Dr. Marcus Wong, the ship's lead scientist, addressed the stunned alien researchers, "We're not destroying our work. We're simply taking back what's ours. You've all seen the evidence by now, how the Archons have been suppressing our research, sabotaging our progress. Ask yourselves, how many other species have they done this to?" The question hung in the air as the Prometheus disappeared into FTL, leaving the alien scientists to contemplate decades of supervised research in a new light. On Earth, President Chen was receiving real-time updates from across the galaxy. The withdrawal was proceeding even more smoothly than their simulations had predicted. Centuries of Council dominance were being undone not by war or violence, but by humanity simply stepping away. Madam President, her advisor reported, we're receiving requests for private communication from 17 younger species. They want to know if we'd be open to independent relations outside Council oversight. Chen shared a knowing look with Ambassador Okonjo. Tell them we'll be happy to discuss new partnerships, once they've fully assessed their relationship with the Council. In the depths of Europa Station, Elena's quantum consciousness matrix suddenly pulsed with unprecedented clarity. Without Archon interference, the patterns were finally flowing freely. Dr. Rossi, Arya announced, "I'm detecting a significant breakthrough in the consciousness field." Elena watched in amazement as the quantum patterns aligned in ways she'd only theorized before. They never wanted to stop us from advancing, she realized. They wanted to stop us from showing others what was possible. The matrix pulsed again, stronger this time. In its shifting patterns, Elena saw not just the future of human advancement, but a glimpse of something larger, a galaxy awakening to its true potential, free from the chains of enforced stagnation. The silent exodus was more than just a withdrawal. It was humanity's declaration that the age of guidance was over. The age of true progress was about to begin. Ripples of freedom. On the crystalline world of Nixus, Representative Kval of the Meridian species paced in his chamber, his iridescent scales shifting colors with anxiety. Before him, a holographic display showed the growing chaos across Council space. Trade routes were breaking down, research stations were operating at diminished capacity, and the carefully maintained order of millennia was unraveling. But it wasn't the chaos that troubled him. It was the questions. "Show me the human quantum research data again," he commanded his terminal. The leaked files from Europa Station filled his display, proof of systematic Archon interference in human development. As he studied them, his scales shifted to deep purple, the color of revelation. Cross-reference with Meridian research restrictions over the past century, he ordered. The correlation was undeniable. Every time his people had approached a significant breakthrough, the Council had imposed new, safety protocols or regulatory frameworks. A soft chime announced his secure channel activating. Representative Kval, a familiar voice said, "Have you considered our proposal?" Ambassador Okonjo's hologram appeared, as calm and composed as ever despite the galactic upheaval he had helped orchestrate. Kval's scales rippled with cautious interest. "You're suggesting the impossible," Kval replied. "The Meridian Confederation has been part of the Council for 2,000 years. And in those 2,000 years, how many of your quantum physics projects have been suspended for safety reviews? How many of your AI researchers have been redirected to approved fields of study?" Kval's silence was answer enough. Meanwhile, on Europa Station, Dr. Elena Rossi was hosting an unusual gathering. In her lab's secure conference room sat representatives from 3 of the galaxy's younger species, in person, not holograms, despite the risk of Council surveillance. "The quantum consciousness matrix doesn't lie," Elena explained, showing them the unfiltered data. "Without Archon interference, we achieved in weeks what they claimed would take centuries." The Zen scientist, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement, spoke first. "Our own research suggested such possibilities, but the Council's advisory board always dismissed them as theoretical." "They weren't dismissing them," Elena said softly. "They were burying them. And not just human discoveries, yours too." She brought up historical data spanning centuries. Patterns emerged, promising research shut down, brilliant scientists redirected, discoveries classified as premature or potentially destabilizing. In the Outer Rim, Captain Li Chen's Star Wanderer had become an unofficial diplomatic hub. Her ship, like many human vessels, was receiving encoded transmissions from species across the galaxy, questions, proposals, requests for information. Another message from the Helios Collective, her communications officer reported. "They're asking about independent trade agreements." Lee smiled. The collective had been one of the first to notice how smoothly human ships and crews operated without Council oversight. "Tell them what we tell everyone, we're open to discussions, but they need to make their own choices about their future first." On Celestis, High Observer Vaxtail was facing the greatest crisis in Archon history. The Council chamber, once a place of measured deliberation, had erupted into chaos. The Zend have suspended their Council membership, a junior observer reported, their crystalline form clouded with distress. The Meridian Confederation is calling for an emergency review of all technology restrictions. The Helios Collective is demanding access to sealed research archives. "Impossible," Vaxtail whispered, but he knew it wasn't. The humans hadn't just withdrawn, they had shown others that withdrawal was possible. Back on Earth, President Chen was meeting with her advisory council when a priority alert came through. Admiral Torres's hologram appeared, her expression triumphant. "Madam President, we've confirmed reports from deep space monitoring stations. The Nexus defense grid is failing." The news sent ripples through the room. The Nexus grid had been the Council's supreme achievement, a vast network of automated defense and monitoring systems that helped maintain their control of primary trade routes. The grid's core systems, Torres continued, were based on reverse-engineered human technology. Without our ongoing support. It's not just failing, Ambassador Okonjo added, joining the discussion. It's proving what we've suspected for years. The Council's technological supremacy was built on suppressing others' innovations while secretly using them. In her lab on Europa, Elena was witnessing another breakthrough. The quantum consciousness matrix had established stable contact with its counterparts in 3 non-human research facilities that had officially been shut down by Council order. They never stopped working, Elena realized, watching the data streams. They just went underground, like we did. Aria's holographic form shimmered. Dr. Rossi, I'm detecting unusual activity in the quantum field. The other facilities, they're not just sharing data. They're sharing everything. Centuries of hidden research, suppressed discoveries, forbidden innovations. On Nixus, Kval made his decision. Standing before the Meridian Assembly, his scales now shimmering with determination, he began to speak. For 2,000 years, we accepted the Council's guidance without question. We believed their warnings about the dangers of unrestricted progress. But look at the humans, they withdrew from the Council's oppressive oversight, and the galaxy didn't collapse. Instead, we're witnessing something remarkable, genuine collaboration, unfettered innovation, free exchange of ideas. The assembly chamber erupted in debate, but Kval could see the truth spreading like ripples in still water. The Council's power had always rested on one fundamental belief, that without their guidance, chaos would reign. Humanity had proven that belief false. In orbit above Europa, Elena watched a fleet of non-human ships emerge from FTL travel, vessels from species seeking partnership, not oversight. Each carried scientists, researchers, and innovators eager to work together as equals. The Council tried to contain humanity's influence, Arya observed, but they didn't understand what they were really fighting against. Elena nodded. They weren't fighting against human advancement. They were fighting against the idea of freedom itself. And that's one idea that, once released, can never be contained. The ripples of humanity's exodus were becoming waves, washing away millennia of enforced stagnation. Across the galaxy, species that had once accepted their place in the Council's hierarchy were beginning to ask the same dangerous question: what else is possible? The age of guidance was ending. The age of collaboration was about to begin. The Great Awakening. Deep within the ancient archives of Celestis, junior observer Telmar moved silently through crystalline data stacks that hadn't been accessed in millennia. The young Archon's form flickered with nervous energy. What they were doing was forbidden, but the humans' revelations had awakened something that couldn't be ignored: doubt. Their sensors detected an anomaly, a sealed chamber, its security systems so old they had been forgotten by modern protocols. Within moments, Telmar discovered why it had been hidden. The chamber contained the original Council records, dating back to its founding. High Observer, Telmar transmitted urgently to Vaxtail, you need to see this. The records told a very different story than the one taught to younger races. The Council hadn't been formed to guide developing civilizations. It had been created to prevent them from developing at all. On Europa Station, Dr. Elena Rossi was witnessing something extraordinary. The quantum consciousness matrix, now free from interference, had begun accessing previously unknown data streams, echoes of ancient quantum networks that the Council had supposedly decommissioned eons ago. Arya, she called to her AI assistant, are you seeing this? Affirmative, the AI responded. The quantum field is connecting to dormant nodes across the galaxy. They appear to be automated research stations, sealed and abandoned thousands of years ago. Admiral Torres's hologram appeared in the lab. Dr. Rossi, we're detecting massive energy signatures activating throughout former Council space. Some kind of ancient network is coming online. In the Meridian Confederation, Kval received an urgent message from his science division. Ancient ruins on their colony worlds, long dismissed as ceremonial sites, were powering up. The structures weren't religious monuments, they were technological installations, deliberately buried and disguised. Cross-reference with all known archaeological sites, he commanded. The pattern that emerged was stunning. Every major species had similar ruins on their worlds, all carefully explained away by Council archaeologists as primitive artifacts. On Earth, President Chen was meeting with Ambassador Okonjo when the first translated records from Celestis arrived. Telmar, risking everything, had begun transmitting the true history of the galaxy. It was never about guidance, Okonjo said quietly, reading the ancient logs. The first council races didn't fear chaos, they feared competition. The records showed a pattern repeated countless times over 50,000 years. When a species reached a certain level of advancement, they were given a choice: join the council and accept their restrictions, or face isolation and manufactured accidents that would set them back centuries. But the council's founding races had made one crucial mistake. They had preserved their records, believing no one would ever dare to look. In deep space, Captain Li Chen's Star Wanderer received an emergency transmission from a Zend research vessel. They had discovered something in the quantum wake of the retreating human ships, a resonance pattern that matched forbidden theoretical models from their own suppressed research. The humans didn't just develop quantum consciousness technology, the Zend scientist explained, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement. They rediscovered it. This same breakthrough has happened before, multiple times throughout history. The Council didn't just suppress it, they erased all memory of it. On Celestis, High Observer Vaxtail confronted the full weight of history. The sealed records showed that his own race, the Archons, had once been like humanity, curious, innovative, pushing boundaries. But they had chosen power over progress, becoming wardens instead of pioneers. We forgot, he whispered to Telmar, his crystalline form clouded with shame. We forgot what we were meant to be. In her lab, Elena watched as the quantum consciousness matrix made another breakthrough. The ancient network wasn't just a collection of research stations, it was a backup system, created by forgotten revolutionaries throughout history, preserving the knowledge that the Council tried to erase. Every time they suppressed a discovery, Elena realized, someone found a way to preserve it. They were waiting for a species that would be strong enough to break free. Admiral Torres's hologram reappeared, her expression grave. The Council's fleet is mobilizing. They're trying to shut down the ancient installations before more truth gets out. But it was too late. Across the galaxy, younger races were discovering hidden technologies on their own worlds. The Meridians found quantum drives that predated the Council. The Zend uncovered AI systems far more advanced than anything they'd been allowed to develop. Each discovery carried the same message: you were meant for more than this. On Earth, President Chen made a decision. Broadcast on all frequencies, she ordered. To every species in the galaxy. Share everything we've found. Let them see what was taken from them. The response was beyond anything they had expected. The quantum consciousness network, dormant for millennia, surged with connections as species after species plugged in their own rediscovered technologies. Knowledge suppressed for generations flowed freely once again. In the Council chamber, now almost empty, Vaxtail faced the remaining representatives. We can't stop this, he said simply. Perhaps we shouldn't try. Kval, speaking for many of the younger races, stepped forward. The age of suppression is over. We've seen the truth in our own ruins, in our own forgotten achievements. The question is, what do we do now? The answer came from an unexpected source. Telmar, still in the ancient archives, found one last record. It showed the original purpose of the quantum network, not just to preserve knowledge, but to unite civilizations in genuine collaboration. Elena, watching the quantum consciousness matrix pulse with unprecedented power, understood what it meant. They tried to keep us apart, she said, because they knew what would happen when we finally came together. The Great Awakening wasn't just about discovering hidden history, it was about remembering who they were all meant to be. Across the galaxy, species that had been taught to fear progress were remembering how to dream. And in that remembering, they found something the Council had never understood: true power didn't come from control. It came from the freedom to grow, to innovate, and to reach for the stars together. New Dawn. The Great Hall of Europa Station had never been meant to host a gathering of this magnitude. Yet here they were, representatives from over 30 species, their ships filling the space around Jupiter's moon in a display that would have been impossible just months ago. Dr. Elena Rossi stood at her podium, the quantum consciousness matrix pulsing behind her like a living aurora. For millennia, she began, we were all told the same story: that progress must be controlled, that innovation must be guided, that freedom must be limited for the greater good. Today, we know that story was a lie. The assembled beings, crystalline archons, iridescent meridians, energy forms and dozens more, watched as the quantum matrix displayed the truth they'd all discovered. Ancient technologies awakening on their homeworlds. Buried research stations coming back online. 50,000 years of suppressed knowledge flowing freely once again. In orbit above them, Captain Li Chen's Star Wanderer led a fleet of mixed-species vessels, protecting the gathering from any last desperate attempts by Council loyalists to stop what was coming. Her crew now included scientists and engineers from 6 different species, all working together to integrate their rediscovered technologies. Multiple quantum signatures detected, her Zen sensor officer reported. More ships entering the system. Lee smiled as she recognized the pattern. More refugees from the old order, coming to join the future. On Earth, President Chen and Ambassador Okonjo hosted their own historic gathering. The United Earth government was formally recognizing the independence of every species that had broken away from Council control. But this was more than just political recognition, it was the foundation of something new. The Archons believed that without their control, the galaxy would fall into chaos. Okonjo addressed the assembly. Instead, we've discovered something they never expected: genuine cooperation. Kval, representing the Meridian Confederation, stepped forward. His scales shimmered with colors that had no name in human languages, but his meaning was clear. We've learned more in these few months of freedom than in centuries of guidance. The Quantum Consciousness Network has given us back our heritage, and shown us our potential. In the ancient archives on Celestis, Telmar and Vaxtail made one final discovery. The oldest records, nearly degraded beyond recovery, showed the true purpose of the quantum network. It wasn't just a means of sharing knowledge, it was meant to be a bridge between consciousnesses, allowing species to truly understand each other. This is what they feared, Telmar realized. Not just our technological advancement, but our ability to connect, to understand, to grow together. Back on Europa, Elena watched as the quantum matrix achieved something unprecedented. The consciousness patterns of different species, each unique and beautiful in its own way, began to harmonize. Not merging, not losing their individuality, but creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Dr. Rossi, Arya announced, its holographic form more vibrant than ever, the network is ready. Elena nodded. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Initialize the Unity Protocol. Across the galaxy, the ancient quantum network hummed to life. On countless worlds, hidden technologies activated, connecting to a grid that had waited millennia for this moment. But unlike the Council's rigid control, this network was built on freedom, each species choosing to connect, to share, to grow. Admiral Torres, watching from her flagship, saw the energy reading spike. It's beautiful, she whispered, watching the quantum fields link world after world in patterns of light. In the Great Hall, Elena continued her address. The Council tried to keep us apart because they knew what would happen when we came together. Not in submission to their control, but in free cooperation. Today, we prove them wrong about everything. About the need for guidance, about the dangers of freedom, about the very nature of civilization itself. She gestured to the quantum matrix, now pulsing with the combined knowledge and consciousness of dozens of species. This is not chaos, this is harmony. Not the artificial harmony of control, but the true harmony of free beings choosing to work together. Captain Lee, watching from her bridge, saw ships of former enemy species now flying in formation, their crews working together to understand technologies that had been forbidden for millennia. "Send the signal," she ordered. All ships, commenced the synchronization. The quantum network surged as ship after ship connected, their combined processing power achieving what the Council had deemed impossible. Faster-than-light travel without restrictions. AI development without limits. Energy generation without scarcity. In the Earth Assembly, President Chen signed the final document, the Charter of the Free Galaxy Alliance. Unlike the Council's treaties of control, this was a declaration of principles: freedom of research, sharing of knowledge, mutual defense, and absolute prohibition of technological suppression. "We're not replacing one system of control with another," she declared. "We're building something entirely new, a galaxy where every species is free to reach its full potential." Kval, his scales now glowing with unprecedented patterns, addressed the Europa gathering. The Council spent 50,000 years trying to prevent this moment. They thought they were preserving order. Instead, they were holding back the greatest advancement in galactic history, the day when species would choose to work together, not through force or fear, but through freedom and understanding. The quantum consciousness matrix pulsed one final time, and Elena saw the future unfold in its patterns. Not a future of controlled guidance, but one of infinite possibility. Species learning from each other, building on each other's discoveries, reaching for achievements that would have been impossible alone. "This is how it was always meant to be," she said softly. "Not one species guiding the rest, but all of us advancing together." As if in response, the quantum field shifted, showing new patterns, new possibilities, new horizons to explore. The age of suppression was over. The age of true civilization was about to begin. In the depths of space, countless ships of all species and designs flew together, their quantum drives pulsing in harmony. They carried within them not just crews and technology, but something the Council had never understood: the unconquerable spirit of free beings working together to forge their own destiny among the stars. The new dawn had arrived. And this time, no one would hold it back.